most of the 10th Street gang were the pro surfers for Greg Knoll surfboards. And then when Greg Knoll went under, E.T. started, so they all went from Greg Knoll to E.T. Eddie simply took all of Greg Knoll's team that was back in those days, and they followed him.
But didn't he start the team, though? Wasn't that one thing that he talked Greg Knoll into doing?
Greg Knoll was Eddie was the manager of Greg Knoll, so he basically ran Greg Knoll, for Greg. That's how it was. So Eddie put all the insight into it, I'm sure. But Greg had his ideas that were as well as the place itself too.
Well, like I got this ad about Over the Top when he did the Waimea thing, that he was the first guy to go and everything. I heard that a lot of those guys that went to Waimea after Knoll did it, what, in '58 or something like that?
I'm not sure. I'd lose dates
but
of that.
I heard that a lot of those dudes were actually basically dealing Maui Wowie to basically finance the trips, and that almost all those guys
probably
that it was either you were either a rich kid or you were basically dealing weed to basically subsidize your trips because there was no sponsorship. Now, what kind of kids were your peers in this? I mean, you started when you were like a little kid, right? Like 13 when did you start actually skating?
I started skating when I was 4 years old.
4?
Yeah, I realized. I think I said once in a magazine I was either 5 or 6, but I realized later I was only 4 years old going on 5. Because the first Gidget movie came out in 1959. I was born in 1955, so right there it's 4 years.
Now, what was your parents' attitude about this? Because it wasn't something mainstream like this.
My parents were so filled with the other kids of the family. I had 5 brothers and sisters, so it was kind of, you were
kind of on your own.
I was the baby of the family, so I got away with murder. They would lose track of me in the situations because my other brothers and sisters were just getting away with murder too, doing crazy stuff at that time. So they were getting caught and controlled of it, and I was just sort of strayed at that time. Then I was just left to be on my own a lot. That's why I probably came up with a lot of ideas on my own.
Well, and the inadequacy of the technology meant where you had to be more creative too, huh?
Yeah, there was no. I never saw a skateboard. Like I say, it was 1959. I'm sure the skateboard was made by then by somebody. There was something out there, the Red Rocket or something by Sure Grip or somebody who just came into existence. Roller Derby. One of those companies came out with a skateboard that was a metal skateboard back in those days. But I never saw it. I saw the Gidget movie and stuff, and I saw the surfing, and all I wanted to do was just mimic the surfing.
Now the stuff
so
around
in my
here,
head, I just came up with the steel wheels and the board and put them together.
Endless Summer. When I talked to Maestro about it, the Body Glove guy, he said that in the movie they quote that there was 2,000 surfers in the world, and then 3 years later there was 6 million and shit. So when that movie hit, it was the same time the foam core fiberglass boards came out. Did it change?
Yes!
Did it change your situation around here a lot? Did skateboarding?
I came into the surfing era here when it was going from shortboard or longboard to shortboard.
The mid-60s?
Overnight, yeah. It was
overnight
late
it changed?
60s, yeah. Overnight it changed. And it was drastic change. It went from 9 foot to 5'1" overnight to me. I seen boards just all of a sudden just come out of the closet that was so short. And I was just learning then, just getting into it, the surfing side of it myself. And it was so crazy because it made it really difficult because I wanted that shortboard so bad I'd got it, and I tried to surf on that stupid thing and it took me 3 months to even get any control at all. Wow. And I realized what an idiot I was. I got a 7-footer and the next day I was just doing everything I ever wanted to do. That's how simple it was.
Did you kick in on a brand early, or did you go with some stuff you didn't like at first?
Yeah, I just went straight Greg Knoll.
Yeah?
When I met those, they were my friends, from there. So they taught me how to do things, but they also wanted to get rid of some of their trash that they had. That's why I started with the 5'1".
Well, that's what Eddie told me. He said the first time, he told me about Bing Copeland. I will put it this way, he didn't tell me about Bing Copeland. I read it on a website where it said that he made a deal to make some money on. He said he was basically living out of his car. He was homeless. He said his dad, wasn't really supportive of him. But he told me personally that he wanted a used board at Greg Knoll's and he couldn't afford it. So he made a deal for half of the money that he could trade off. I think he said $5 a board. And he said he was selling them in the lineup. But he told me he even made that deal with Bing Copeland. And his whole deal was, he'd make a deal that he would get people into surfing by whatever hook or crook they needed to. Because it wasn't just about buying the brand new shit. Yeah, so he came.
He was a salesman.
You guys basically clicked right away the first time you met Eddie?
Yeah. Basically, when I first met him, he probably doesn't even remember it, but it was at Greg Knoll, and I didn't really introduce myself, but we went through some exchange of some sort, and he told me to get my junk out of the lot if I needed it. It was in the drum or something. But from there, after Greg Knoll closed, because I used to just hang out at Greg Knoll's as a little rat, trying to get materials for free so I could build my next board, because I had the 5'1", I had the 7.0, and then I was like, this junk don't work no more, I need something different, but I couldn't afford it. I only paid $35 for my first board. My second board cost me $70, I think. You know, and then I wanted to make one after that myself because boards had gone up to like $100 then, 85, something like that.
Wow.
And I wanted to make it myself because I get all the materials for free, basically, except for the blank. It cost me $8.
$8 for the blank.
$8. Yeah. That's
And was
my
it Clark
first
foam?
surfboard.
Was it back then Clark foam or something else?
God, was it Clark? No, it was some. Yeah, it was, but it was a reject from Clark.
Ah.
Yeah, it was a reject from Clark foam.
7 years ago when I met Eddie, I took pictures of Gumby back there with all the blanks and everything, and now when he's seen them again, he went, shit! So the real deal, the archaeology of surf, dude. Eddie has, all the remnants of old stuff and stuff that's in there. Now that there's so many incarnations of it, I have pictures that even just show just the 7 years of it. Like one particular signage that was on there, he told me, that guy's now a big snowboard executive and stuff, but I only give a shit about the stuff that looks cool.
Yeah.
The stuff that's representative of, screw Egyptian archaeology. Like the picture of you in that Baldy pipeline, dude, what I was really fascinated about it, my father was a World War II carrier pilot, right? And I have a picture of him in a squadron with the number 0 on the plane. Mm-hmm. And it's a continuous tone photograph right from the negative. That picture's you on Baldy Pipeline. I knew there was really bitchin' detail on it. So after I did the picture that Eddie had on his wall with the 2 surfboards in the window with the Volkswagen, I snapped the one off the wall and scanned it to yours. And dude, people cannot fucking believe the vertical drop on that shit. And what I always like...
Yeah, the way it's going past.
well, you qualified to me the other day that it was a long, a dark hole, and you got up to some pretty good speed. But you're lifting, so you were oscillating, right?
Yeah.
But you're
it's
lifting.
Only downhill, barely.
But you're lifting right when the tube ends.
Yeah.
So was it a rad transition to then fly and land there?
Yeah, it was just coming out. I was still on the wall. So when I came out, I just went simply up onto the flat wall.
Ah. Right. But let's face it, dude, you're 14 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
If you would have bobbled wearing gym shorts, it would have been pretty rad. How fast do you think you were going? You think you were going 30? How fast did you
No, those are snappers. No, I'm going straight up and down in that picture. I'm going just literally straight up and down. When I make that turn, you see that turn I'm in the middle of?
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn it completely straight around and come completely straight back.
So how much did your balls pucker? How much did your ass pucker when you did it? I mean, it was more excitement than it was fear.
Oh, yeah. It's just a rush. You don't fear it. When you're in the middle of doing it, you don't fear it. You just get a rush from it.
Yeah, but you're crazy, Kevin. Because the point is, you didn't get the benefit of seeing somebody else do it first. You guys were doing shit that was either success or crash, right?
Yeah, basically. But over time, you see more and more of everything, too. But
and isn't
it's
it
all
more
related to surfing.
Yeah.
It's all related
but dude,
to surfing.
I saw this
if you look at the picture, it looks like I'm in the water. I mean,
right,
you could literally
but
take that pipe and turn it into water, and it would be the same reality.
I saw this guy trying to surf for lessons, and he is in like 1 foot of water. So when he tries to stand up, he's falling down and he's crashing into the sand, right? The trick is to go out where the waves are deeper because you get a cushion.
Yeah.
No cushion in skateboarding, man.
Yeah, no cushion.
It's not quite the
not back
same.
then.
Yeah, not back then.
Not now either. I mean, I could do the same picture today.
Well, I remember, I think it was like 20 years ago, Tony Hawk was on the beach at the AVP bullshit, and he had his own
ramp. Yeah.
Well, the whole thing.
The whole.
What do they call
bowl.
it? And I remember guys were going, no, it was a whole transition thing that bolted together, and people were like, that cost him $100,000, and that was just in the beginning of the big money.
Oh, you're talking about the jump. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was on the sand, and I don't know what kind of transition they put on the bottom, but it was clipped together.
Yeah.
And it was what it was. It was a trip. Even like when you see these rock walls where people are climbers.
Yeah, Danny Way's ramps.
Dude, there's so much money in this shit now. Pretty much.
Oh, those are huge ramps too. They put so much transition in those things. It's just ridiculous.
Well, even like the motocross guys that do that stuff where they jump over.
Yeah, they're just trying to add height to the whole deal, but they're taking away the fear still by putting all that transition in wood.
Now I heard somebody.
I think it's deeper in concrete.
I heard somebody say about, I think it was Sid Sarish, the dancer. She said about Fred Astaire that he walked into stores dancing where they were talking about Gene Kelly was more athletic and stuff. So do you see yourself as an elegant, like do you track things in your mind, or do you deal with spontaneously, or
spontaneous, more like it.
It's an athletic thing.
Yeah,
you just look ahead of you, and your body after a while just kind of knows what to do.
It's a feeling.
Yeah.
You can be blind. I'm practically blind. I don't wear my glasses when I skate usually, so I'm really blind.
Now, how are you holding up in terms of experience versus young age? Because when you were like 19 years old, you were shredded to the bone.
Well, now you still want to do things, but you really can't.
But your brain knows so much more in terms of the tracking and everything.
No, not to do that.
But you still go out, you were talking like on the phone, you still go out and regularly skate pretty rad shit?
When I go, it'll be rad shit, yeah. I mean, it's just